episode of Magnetoception or Magnetoreception. This is just a testing right now to see how to do it all, because I've never actually done this before, and I can see this angle doesn't work, so I've got to come up with something better next time. Anyway, what this is about is, like I said, magnetoreception. For those that aren't aware of what that is and they're not familiar with it, magnetoception, which is the shortened version of magnetoception, is the ability that most species, or some species have. Take your homing pigeons, who have a way, they know how to find their way. Your salmon, who have the ability to return to their spawning ground in order to spawn themselves. So it's a way to figure out where you are and know where you belong or where you should be. And it's arguably present in humans. So some people say that this is available for humans too. You know, it's controversial. Some say we do have it, some say we don't have it. And this isn't really about knowing where you are in a spatial relations kind of thing, like I should be turning left. Although, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people have that sense, you know, that you're trying to figure out. It's like, I think it's this way. Oh, I get a gut feeling it's that way. And that's kind of like, you know, that's part of it. But the part I'm focusing on really is what you believe. So because some people, they know that they're Christian. And that's fine. I'm not arguing it. That's fine. If that's what works for you, then do it. Some people know that they're Muslim. And I'm not arguing that. That's fine. If that's what you are, good. That works. Good for you. Some people know that they're Buddhist. Some people know that they're Hindu. Some people know that they're, the latest one, which isn't really the latest, but the latest accepted one. Some people know that they are more, that's still a form of Christianity. So some people know that they're Scientologists. Some people know that they are spiritual. And some people know that they are, what's the new one? They're putting up a temple. They're putting up their shrine today. Come on, what am I thinking of? Atheist. No. Devil worshippers. Yes, that's what it is. In Detroit, they're putting up a shrine, or they're putting up a statue of Baphomet at their shrine somewhere in Detroit. So if that works for you, and apparently it works for them, then once again, fine. I'm all for it. So that's what this is about. And it's, you know, other people have touched on it before. There's a gentleman named Thomas More. He used to be a monk. He kind of touched on it, creating your own religion. Some spiritual people kind of touch on it, but not really. Seth, if you're familiar with Jane Roberts, the late writer. Seth and Jane Roberts and Seth, who was a channeled entity. And then there is Esther Hicks, who is channeling Abraham, and there's some other ones. So, and for years, you know, my own personal story is, hey, I started out as a devout, rabid atheist. I mean, I was vehemently against all religion. No. And that worked until it didn't work. Once it didn't work, I boogied on down and found something else that served me, and I became Jewish. Yes, I'm Jewish. So I was Jewish. I was firmly, you know, and I'm not one who dabbles in this and dabbles in that. I really get in it. I mean, I lived the life. I was in it. So I am Jewish. I became Jewish. You actually have to study. It's not like, yes, I'm Jewish. You have to actually study and go before a Beit Din You have to be voted. They have to agree that you know enough to become Jewish, that you're sincere. So I did that. And actually, ironically, my Jewish name is Abraham, which is Hebrew Abraham. So I became Jewish, and then I was firmly Jewish until that didn't work, and I became Muslim, and my Muslim name is Mustafa, which is another name for the prophet. See, Abraham was, Abraham, a prophet of God and the founder of all Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So anyway, it's Abraham, and Mustafa, and I was firmly Muslim. I mean, oh my goodness, I was there, man. I was in it until it didn't work for me, and I became Buddhist. Until that didn't work for me. And then I moved over to Taoism. And I was Taoist that was a short period of time, because the more I got involved with these movements, these religions, the faster I became aware of what no longer worked for me. Like with atheism, I was atheist for years. I mean, most of my life I was atheist. I mean, I would get into an argument. I'd shout you down. Just outrageous. So as I got further and further involved with other paths, is what I'll call them, I became more adept. And I brought up adept for a particular reason. I'll tie that in later. But I became more adept at finding out what didn't work for me and moving on down the line. See, because I'm firmly into a thing until I find out what doesn't work. And then once I see what doesn't work, I can't stay. I've even tried to stay. Once I left, I tried to circle back around, and it just, it's almost like O.J. Simpson. If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. Well, it didn't fit anymore, so I couldn't continue to wear it. I had to take it off. Well, I don't say I took it off. I took the best parts and left the rest. I don't have any philosophical differences with these people. I just have... Anyway, we'll get to that. So anyway, so when I say I've been everywhere, and I used to, the whole Johnny Cash, I've been everywhere. Well, actually, it wasn't Johnny Cash. It was who? No, it was Johnny Cash. I was thinking it was Roy Orbison, but no, it was Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I mean, I've looked into all kinds of religions. For a time, I even, and I brought this up for a minute for a reason. I even dabbled in I don't want to say devil worship, but Satanism, which is what it is. Devil worship, Satanism. I even dabbled in that, and that's kind of interesting, but it's not, because all the same fights and arguments that are in Christianity exist in Satanism as well. In fact, much of Satanism, not all of it, but much of it, is a firm a firm pushback against Christianity. Not all of it, but more, a lot of the more juvenile type of statements and views out there are pushbacks against Christianity. The upside down cross, all that kind of stuff. There are some sects, there are some streams within that particular path that don't involve Christianity at all. In fact, they make a point of being pre-Christian, but still, point is, you can find pretty much the same arguments, the same biases, everything in Satanism that you can in Christianity. So, that brings me kind of to where I am now. I've been through some things in life, and one of the things I went through lately, and all of this happened while I was on my spiritual quest. And truthfully, it was a quest for self. And I'll get into that. I'll tie it all in later. So, some of the uncomfortable things in life I was experiencing was at the same time I was on this spiritual quest. And it kind of fed into one another, because I was on a spiritual quest, in a sense, lost to myself. That exacerbated the unpleasantness of what I was going through physically. And then what I was going through physically, the unpleasantness of what I was going through physically, exacerbated made it worse that I was spiritually lost because I didn't have that to cling to. I mean, I did, but I didn't. So, and I remember, I tell you, I was driving down a highway one day, and I'll even go back further than that. Some years ago, I was in so much pain and agony, not physical pain and agony, just more of a spiritual, foundering kind of pain and agony, that's when I touched on the idea that, well, maybe Satanism was right. I said, well, you got all of these, which God is this, which God is right. You got this God saying that God saying the other. It's like, now what's the one common denominator of all religions? Because the gods change, but what's the one common denominator? And that's where Satanism came in. It's like, well, Satan, evil, the devil. I said, yeah, that's the one unchanging thing. So let me look into that. So when I say I've looked at, it's not just I've seriously looked at all these things. So, like I said, I looked into it, and I did a lot of research. Ultimately, it wasn't for me, but I looked into it, and I did a lot of research, bought a lot of books, scared the bejesus out of my now wife. She became my girlfriend, fiance, during the time I was going through that Satanism phase, and she was, so anyway, scared the heck out of her. She saw the books and everything, and I was like, So anyway, back to the point. So, cut to more recently, and I was lamenting the fact that I couldn't just be satisfied, See, the problem with the spiritual path, the problem with this kind of path, the awakened path, I'll call it. I won't even call it spiritual, although it is, but the awakened path, kind of like Neo with the blue pill or the red pill. The problem is, once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep. It just doesn't, at least I wasn't able to. Maybe someone else can, but I wasn't able to go back to sleep. It was kind of like, if I could just stop questioning, if I could just stop digging, well, then maybe I could be satisfied. But once I come to an impasse, once I come to a roadblock, I haven't been able to just ignore it and continue on. I've got to find out, once I get to a mystery, I've got to solve it. So, without going into the further details of, specifics and all of that, I'll do that in the future. But once I came to an impasse, once I came to a philosophical difference, I couldn't just ignore it. Because if you could ignore it, if you don't have these questions, if the chasm between what you know and what they're telling you, if you can live with it, if it doesn't bother you, if you don't question it, then you can be satisfied. But if you're like me, it's where you question it, and once you come up, you research it, and you have that logic, you have that And once you come up to it, you can't let it go. You have to solve it. It's a mystery. It's just impossible to go back to sleep. So I couldn't do it. So I can't do it. Once I see it, I have to. Once I see it, and there's no reasonable, then I gotta boogie on down the road. So where I am now, I will tell you is, and it's gonna be controversial. I know it's gonna be controversial, but I don't care. See, and the reason I say that is because my wife is devoutly Christian. I mean, rabid, praise Jesus, Christian, hallelujah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I applaud her for that. You know, she knows where she stands. Good for you. Good for her. You know, if you know where you stand in life, good for you. So, where I am right now, and forever, because it all fits, it all makes sense, there are no more questions, and this is where magnetoreception comes in, is that I am God. You are too, if you want to be. But know that I am God. Now, what that means is that I am God, my wife is God, my children are God, and you too are God. And being God, you have ultimate control of your life, of your existence. And being God, who has ultimate control of their life and their existence, you have the ability to choose. And you can choose bondage if that's what you want to do. So you can choose to be subservient to Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, Yahweh, Jehovah. You can choose to be subservient to Ralph, and I don't know if you remember Ralph, but if you're of my age, you might have seen What's Happening with the head of lettuce. That rerun was worshiping called Ralph. So you have ultimate ability to choose who you are subservient to. You can choose your own God. Now, truthfully, you are God. See, and and here's the thing, it doesn't really hurt because everybody is God. So if I elevate you to God, then I'm still worshiping God because you are God. I mean, I'm God too, so I don't have to, but you're God, so I can. And it doesn't hurt. It's kind of like this. My right arm. If I want to, I could chop it off, put it on a shelf, and dance around it and praise ho, ho, ha, if I wanted to. But you don't have to, because it's already part of you. And that's how it is. That's how it is. That's how God is, okay? I am God. You are God. Everybody is God. And being God, we can choose who we want to worship and who we want to serve. We don't have to worship and serve anybody, but we can. And we do, if you think about it. And this was very controversial. I was telling some former friends that I have about this, and it's like, oh my goodness. So, if you think about it, in life, we all choose things and people to be subservient to. Some choose money. Some choose their career. Some choose their family. For me, I used to choose women. In fact, my very first experience at choosing a God, and I wasn't at the time. I wasn't serious, but I was serious, and I actually did it. Was I came up with the theory that there should be a church, or the Church of the Sacred Vagina, or the Blessed Vagina, Church of the Church of the Sacred Vagina. And I was like, the altar. Anyway, the point is that's not important. But the point is, for the lack of a better, more eloquent term, I was what's classified as a dog. I was all about sex with women. And I'm not saying it like it's better than sex with men. I'm just saying that was my particular route, was sex with women. Still is, So anyway, the point is, for me, I was subservient to Not women in general, but the vagina. And the reason I can delineate that is because, okay, if it was just being nice to a woman just for the sake of it, nah, you can forget about it. But if it was being nice to a woman for the objective of having sex with that woman, well, all right, everything was good. Everything was good to show, hey, I was there, I'd do it. Money, difficulty, you have no idea how many times I blew off work for chasing after some vagina. Always got it, but that's another story. Invested time, one woman, and it wasn't the woman, it was the vagina. I chased this vagina for 14 years, man. I mean, I knew her, I've known her all my life, I still know her now, but, from 14 years from the time I decided I wanted to sleep with her until I actually achieved it, it was 14, obviously it was 14 years, and it wasn't a consistent daily pursuit kind of thing. It was I'd be all into it, and then it didn't look like it was going to work, so I'd back off and say, I don't care, and then it rolled back around. Hey, it's going to happen. All right, I'm into it, and I'd pursue it until it didn't look like it wasn't going to work, and it's like, well, we're just friends. Well, no, I really don't need it, so no, I'd back off until it finally happened. And then once it happened a couple times, it just wasn't everything. It was a conquest kind of thing. I did it. I achieved it. That was all I really was after. I didn't want the relationship. I didn't want the woman. I just wanted the vagina. So I was, my god, or my goddess was vagina. For a while there, money was my god. My ex-fiance was my goddess. My family became my gods. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, because as a god, you're free to choose, and it really doesn't, as long as you do it right, it really doesn't harm you in any way, shape, or form. So, really, it can be beneficial, actually, too. Everyone wants to be part of something bigger than themselves, and this allows you to be part of something bigger than yourself, particularly in terms of family. Like, oh, well, I want to, my God is my family. I'll do whatever for my family. And that's fine. If that works, hey, that's good. The danger in any of it comes is when you invest, and this is where, the whole stream of Buddhism comes in. When I form expectations of others based on my perceptions, and they fail to live up to those expectations, I'm setting myself up for hurt. So, take the case of children, which, I'm going through now. I have, semi-young, I have young children. That's just how it is. So, if I build myself up on them acting right, or what I consider to be right, and they don't act right, well, then I'm hurt and I'm upset. If I can break, and the thing about it, emotions are natural things, so you can't train yourself not to be upset. I mean, you can kind of do it, but it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's really a lot of work, and it's kind of like brainwashing too, because you're brainwashing yourself not to feel, not to have emotions, and that's not who we are. We have emotions. We have feelings. So, the better way is to disassociate yourself from your expectations. So don't form expectations of people, because and another thing about it is you can't take it personally. Some people, they get, I'm upset you didn't do this, but you're not acting right. Well, the thing about it, like my daughters, or my children, I don't take it personal. I figure it this way. Well, with anybody, they're doing what they see as making themselves happy. They're not doing what they do just to make me unhappy. They're not doing it saying, well, screw you, buddy, I'm going to piss you off. They're doing it because they feel it will make them happy. Now, I can say, no, it won't. Yes, it will. All this kind of fun stuff. But at the end of the day, they're not saying, I'm out to screw you. They're saying, I'm out to be me. And I can't fault that. I can try to guide them, things like that, but I can't fault them. So, but that's what leads to violence. You know, people invest their expectations into people. And they get upset when people fail to live up to their expectations. So that's the key. Stop forming expectations based on people, or expect people to be exactly what they want to be, and everything will work out. So, like I said, that's where I am now and forever, because, and this is where the whole magnetoreception thing comes into play. When you know, it's kind of like this. If you're out driving and you're not sure where you are, you're not where, I won't even say where you should be. You're just not sure where you are. You don't know whether it's where you should be or where you shouldn't be. You have an uneasy feeling in the pit of your stomach. You know, that nagging voice in the back of your head, like, I don't know, maybe I should check. Am I in the right place? I'm not sure. I got to find out. Or, I'll find out eventually. But when you're in the right place and you know you're in the right place, and that doesn't have to be with if you have a map and it says here's where you should be, a GPS saying here's where you are, nothing. But when you know you're in the right place, you have that easiness about yourself. You just feel it. You have that calm, rational. It's like your whole being just says. And that's about where I am. You know, once I got to where I am now, it's like everything in me just said, It's like all the time I've been swimming against the current, because that's what it is in this country when you are not Christian. You're not, particularly not Christian, because this is the United States of America. For those that I didn't say it before, I'm in the United States of America. So in the United States of America, if you're not Christian, you're swimming against the stream. You really are. And it's a struggle. It's an effort until you get to where you're supposed to be. Once you get to where you're supposed to be, all the effort stops. You can just relax, lay back and float. You can float on downstream. That's another thing. Once you're where you're supposed to be, you're not swimming, you're not going upstream anymore. You're drifting downstream, like on a cloud. So that is where I am now. Where I will be, because and that's it. When I was on other paths before, other streams of other paths, I thought I was there because the questions didn't stop, but the nature of the questions changed. Now the questions have stopped, but they haven't stopped because, like, in Christianity, you have a book. Here's the book. In Islam, you have a book. Many books in Islam. Oh my goodness. Here are the books. In Judaism, quite a few books. In Buddhism, some books. In the path I'm on now, actually, even in Satanism, there's no book. They call it the path with no book. But with Satanism, you find someone to teach you this and teach you that, and But where I am, there is a book and there isn't a book. There isn't a book in that it's written down. There is a book because it's what's inside of you. It's things that you already know. So, and that's where I was. I had to tie this back into what I was saying earlier, how I got off on this sidetrack. I was driving down the highway, and I felt lost. Not physically, but, spiritually lost. And much like I did before, where I was shouting to myself, shouting to God, about Satanism, maybe Satanism, if, since none of the other religious streams could agree, maybe it was the one thing they were all against, which was Satanism. It was similar. I just wanted to know what it was. Didn't care what it was. I just wanted to know what it was. And that's when it all came to me. So it wasn't like I met someone and this, that, and the other. This is stuff that came to me. And as I share it during, going forward with this broadcast, hopefully it'll help some of you. And even if it doesn't help, except for you to be more firmly where you are right now, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, doesn't matterism is the point. Wherever you are, if you're comfortable there, if it works for you, then good. Even if it's atheism, if it works for you, it's good. And I brought that up for a reason. I'll tie that in a future episode. But for today, for now, that's all. Magnetoreception, and look for the website because, it's coming. But I just wanted to get something out there soon, immediately. So the point is how to know what's right for you. Know where you are, where you belong. And once you're there, all the effort ceases. I mean, you can delve more into it, finding out for yourself. But as far as, anyway, the point is that's all for now. It was just a quick little thing. It'll get much better as I go along. Just wait for it. But I had to get something out there to show, for one, for myself. Two, to show what I'm working on and things like that. So apparently nobody's watching it right now. There's 0 viewers, 0 messages, 0 likes. But hey, if somebody finds this later, please tune in. I plan to do this every Sunday, or maybe every other Sunday. For now, it'll be every Sunday at 11:30. I was a little late today. At 11:30 Eastern, and maybe till I'm gonna try to go to 12:30 next time. But for now, I'm just going to 12-ish. I'm doing about a half hour today, just because I was completely unprepared. So look forward to get better. If you like what you see, please tune in for future episodes. If you like what you see, please share it. If it benefits you, drop me a message. Like it. Check me out on Google Plus. Check me out on, where am I? Twitter. The website is coming soon. It's going to be, well, it is. I own it. I just haven't developed it. Magnetoreception.com or Magnetoception.com. So it's all in the works. Watch this space. It'll be good. Hopefully it'll help you. And if it doesn't help you, it's helping me. So someone's getting help one way or the other. All right. Take it easy. Stay tuned. See you next time.